Hello, welcome to another episode of the Horror Vision. My name is Sean.
And I am Anthony of the Asteroids.
And Anthony of the Asteroids, we're doing an episode tonight. This is a movie that is 9 years old. So we're coming up on the 10th anniversary. It was just re released in theaters. We both saw it this past week. And I really know nothing about Godzilla. Godzilla Minus One was my first Godzilla movie. Other than like as a kid, I saw like a little bit of some Godzilla movie. I have no idea what it was. And obviously, like it's Godzilla's just in the cultural, unconscious at this point. So it's like I'm aware, I've seen bits, like I know things, but not like you do, right? So I'm going to lean heavy on you. But we wanted to do something to kind of talk about Shin Godzilla because it's being re-released, and now there's talk that the sequel that was thwarted after this film came out in 2016, and I guess broke a lot of people's hearts, and I can see why. So we wanted to kind of talk about Shin Godzilla in relation to the historical significance of the Godzilla brand. I think Minus One obviously did so well that they're talking about like, hey, maybe Shin Godzilla is something we can bank on now, and hopefully that happens. But man, I just want to point out so Shin Godzilla is apparently the filmmakers made this kind of as an allegory for events that transpired in Japan in 2011, and this is the Great East Japanese earthquake and tsunami that also triggered the Fukushima nuclear disaster. And so basically, this movie was made to show you how government sucks. All the red tape just fucks up the actual response to disasters. And I think this does a really good job showing you that. As a first time viewer, I was so taken aback right away because it's so fast paced. The editing's so fast. The subtitles, there's so many subtitles on screen all the time. But it was a lot of work to sit through this 2 hour movie, but it was infinitely rewarding. And I'm so glad that you talked me into doing that. You never really talked me into it. You mentioned you were going. I was like, oh, go. I got nothing going on. So, Anthony, talk to me about your relationship with Godzilla and Shin Godzilla and how you perceive this in relation to the history of the franchise and yada, yada, yada.
Well, I mean, as far as Godzilla and just Toho in general, like all that started back when I was a kid. My mom and stepdad used to hang out on Sundays on was it KTLA 5 here in LA. We used to get they would do like monster movie Sundays in the mid afternoon. So like my mom was like, sit down, you're gonna watch War of the Gargantua. So that's like the first time I'd ever seen that. But I mean, as far as like Godzilla films go, that's something that also is just part of those Sundays. So I had no idea about like the order of when those films came out, but I got introduced to that, Gamera, Mothra, the Rodan stuff, and just that entire like Toho verse of just monsters in general. And so I go way back, and just being a kid fascinated with dinosaurs and stuff like that. I mean, Godzilla just falls in line with it, and
Yes.
it just makes sense to a little kid at that point in life. And it's just been something that's followed me, all throughout life. As far as being a fan and continuing to be excited about new and future Godzilla projects. And 2016, we get this movie comes out, and I didn't get to see it theatrically in any by any, it just wasn't around. But yeah, this flick, pops up on the radar. Obviously, everybody who follows anything Godzilla, you're gonna know about it. So
Right.
Shin Godzilla comes out, and this is the start of kind of like the a new what do you want to call it? It's a new era of Godzilla films. Back in 2000, we had the Millennium Godzilla series start, and at some point, that Godzilla is in theory killed. It's not the first time it's happened. We saw him killed by Destroya in the past also, and just brought down by plain old humans in that first one with some with the oxygen destroyer, which is really just a cool concept in general. So this Shin Godzilla is in a sense just another reboot to the series,
Hmm.
and obviously, like you said, it has a there's a political stance in it that weighs heavy on the film and also on the people of Japan during that time of that tsunami. I remember following that on the news, not very closely, but remembering that yeah, it was kind of terrible. Well, it was terrifying for the
Yeah.
people of Japan, obviously, and yeah, I just wasn't aware of like all the red tape, all the bureaucracy that just kind of led to nowhere, and by the time decisions were made, it was just too late. And all that stuff correlates to this film. You see, Godzilla coming ashore, and I it's something I kind of warned you before you went into the viewing is you're going to be in a lot of meetings. You're going to see a lot of people attempting to make decisions and then pulling the plug on them and then going back to the drawing board over and over and over. Meanwhile, Godzilla is getting stronger and stronger, and the imminent danger coming is getting greater and greater and greater. And yeah, man, this movie though, so this started a new trend of films. I believe it was this one. There was a neon uh Evangelion, or I forgive me if I'm saying that wrong. And then there was a Shin Ultraman film, and there was a Shin Masked Rider film. And so this was the first and probably the most terrifying I've ever seen Godzilla since well, in minus one he was pretty horrific, but this predates that. And then before that, maybe Giant Monsters All Out Attack, where they actually make Godzilla the bad guy,
Hmm.
and of all creatures that's pit against him, it's King Ghidorah as the hero, the three-headed monster, which is really interesting. And also, this film has nothing to do with the current Legendary films, all that stuff coming out, the Warner Brother Legendary stuff, not
Right.
completely separate. That's not Toho at all. This is, and we get a completely new redesign of Godzilla, and it is downright terrifying. Funny, and oddly enough, it's really derpy looking in the beginning of the film.
Just, dude, so that's one of the things like that threw me off when it starts and he first comes on shore. So okay, so I remember you remember in 99 or 2000, and I didn't see it, but I remember the advertising was everywhere. There was an American-made Matthew Broderick Godzilla movie with like Jamiroquai on the soundtrack. That's no
We
diss to
don't
Jamiroquai.
talk about that movie.
I know nothing about that movie other than the backlash because I remember people going, he's a giant iguana or something like that,
Yeah,
right? So they
yeah.
redesigned him in this weird way. So when this movie starts, I was like, what the fuck? Because he's got googly eyes. Like, and I'm watching this, I'm like, what the the eyes are such a mistake. What the fuck is going on? And I realized later, I think it's very anime influenced
One totally, totally, yeah.
because I've seen a very similar image, like a visage on something, and I'm not an anime person, but I've seen some anime, so I couldn't tell you what it was, but it looked like that in retrospect, but it threw me for that part of the movie. I was like, what is and then he starts to evolve, right? It was so
It's
weird.
it's interesting too. And again, it's one of those things where it's like, hey, we've got something out there. There's nothing out there. Hey, it's gonna come on shore. Nah, it could never come on shore.
Like in the moment they're like it won't come on shore during the
And-
press conference, right?
yeah,
Like,
exactly. And
whoops.
don't worry about it. It's so big, it'll die. It'll crush itself under the weight, under its own weight. It'll never
Yep.
be able to stand. Well, the fucker's walking around now.
Yep. Oh
I
man.
mean, yeah. So I mean, the jab at bureaucracy and just the the gatekeepers of society. It's really heavy-handed here, and obviously, there's people in the film, the heroes of the film, that are like, no, we have to do something.
Yeah, right.
We can't wait around for this shit. And ultimately, everybody's hands are tied by this crap, and you end up getting what you get later on during the film, which, like you said, is it's a chore to get through. It's a hard watch to get through, but when you get to it, it is visually stunning
Yeah.
and absolutely mortifying at times. And it's interesting how they were able to kind of play it up to where they were able to play it out to where they're able to evacuate all these places and try to save as many people as possible. And again, it ultimately becoming too late because it's like, oh yeah, we'll stop it before it gets to Tokyo. We'll get fucking wet.
Nope.
You end up in Tokyo with this fucking horrible monster. Um, but ultimately, this is like one of those movies that it got released on home video, quickly went out of print, like abruptly went out of print. And for some reason I was able to get one from Best Buy for like $5 when they were available. So I made sure to add that to the collection, as I try to do with all Godzilla films. Matter of fact, I still need to kick myself in the ass and get a copy of -1. I don't know why I haven't done that yet. Chalk it up to idiocy. But yeah, it's odd because this thing came and went. It was a huge hit overseas, and here
Good.
yeah, I feel like it didn't make a sense, but obviously would resonate with their society and culture more than it would with us. You know what I mean? So I think that's the thing that is lost on a lot of American audiences, is that
Yes.
we don't have the cultural impact that the bomb had. Obviously, you know what I mean? Like we
Yes.
never
Yeah.
had, we didn't
Well,
have
and
that.
also the subtitles are going to work against it with American audiences. That's just a fact. And
True.
also like again, like it's so it's work, but I believe that's not necessarily a bad thing. So like I'm like that's fine. I can you warned me, and I'm like I can deal with it. But there was a couple in my theater, and they walked in front of me, and the guy had like his leg was like a giant Godzilla tattoo, and the ticket takers were like, "Oh, that's awesome! Wow, we know what movie you're going to see." Blah blah blah. They left before the movie ended, like at least half an hour before. Now I don't know if that's because they had seen it before and they, whatever. But I thought that was weird because I'm like, I don't know. Didn't you know? Maybe they didn't. He didn't know what he was getting into. I don't know, or maybe he did. But
Maybe he's a fan of the Warner Brothers stuff and, like you said, just didn't know what he was getting into.
that could very well be because this would challenge American audiences. Did this get a theatrical release at all in America in 2016 when it came
To
out? Do
my
you know?
knowledge, to my knowledge, it would have been very limited, if anything. Yeah, I'm sure it did, but limited. I didn't get a chance to see it. Um, it had to have been. You know what I mean? Like it's gotta do something.
Because I'm wondering. Tell me if this timeline sounds right to you.
Hit me.
So the whole I've never been able to watch a legendary. I tried whatever the legendary one is with 11 from Stranger Things in it. When that was on Max, I tried to watch it and it put me to sleep.
It's awful.
So my understanding is okay, and it's anecdotally, I don't know if this is right. Cloverfield comes out, whatever year that was, 2008 or whatever, and
Mhm.
that's a huge thing, right? And then I feel like just within a couple years, the first Legendary comes out, and I remember seeing the trailer for that first Legendary movie with the what's his nuts from Breaking Bad doing the voiceover or whatever. It was a really good trailer,
Yeah.
and I remember thinking they're bringing this back because of Cloverfield.
For
Now,
America, yeah, probably due to the popularity of American, with Cloverfield, in American audiences, that popularity definitely generated that buzz for that. But also, mind you, at that time, for Godzilla fans, the Millennium series is still ongoing at this point, which started in 2000 with Godzilla 2000, Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, Godzilla against.
but that's not in theaters at all.
Again, that stuff is very limited. very
Yeah,
limited. Yeah, very very niche, but by those, but well, by that time standards anyway. But I mean, it was great for me because I was
yeah.
still collecting and watching all these movies as they were coming out. And they were, in my opinion, better and better. It's funny that you mentioned the Godzilla, the American Godzilla, which we refer to as just Zilla. And in the final movie for the Millennium series, it's Godzilla Final Wars, where Godzilla is literally killing every monster left on the planet as he's trying to basically obliterate Earth. Um, that he comes across a really shitty CGI version of Zilla and picks
Nice.
him up and like throws him into some monument and just blows him up with his heat ray immediately. So it was just a fun jab at that as well.
That's
But
fantastic.
it's hysterical that that thing showed up. And again, for the fans, it was just a great laugh. Um, so yeah, again, it's one of those things where like unless you were paying attention, there were still Godzilla movies going on
Well,
throughout the.
so that's what I'm thinking. So I'm wondering if it's like the way that Shin gets made at this time is we got Cloverfield in 2008, and then I think it's 2014 is the first Legendary,
Yeah,
and then 2016 is Shin Godzilla, right? So
yeah,
it seems like maybe like there's like a piggyback effect. And I remember the story about J.J. Abrams doing Cloverfield, where he was like he was in Japan and he picked up like a Godzilla toy and it was
yeah.
like we don't have this in America anymore. Like that's a shame. And so he
Mhm.
brought that kind of idea to Cloverfield.
And it's interesting because every time there's an American Godzilla film, Toho has an answer to it, which is
Yeah,
great. And I love that about it. Because
yeah,
despite, there being this whole series now with Warner Brothers and Legendary, you get Godzilla minus one amid all that shit. And goddamn if it isn't fucking 10 times better than all that other fancy
yeah.
shit that they're fucking throwing at you. Don't get me wrong, as far as influencing like newer generations to become Godzilla fans, King Kong fans, and I admittedly even like Kong Skull Island. I actually like the movie. Not crazy about what's his name, Samuel L. Jackson's acting, but he's actually a pretty good like antagonist in that film.
Hmm.
It's definitely worth a watch. But again, like going back to what I just said, it's interesting how Toho always had an answer to these movies that are doing fairly well in America. And it's like, hey, don't forget where this stuff came from. And by the way,
Right.
if you like this, you really need to come back over on this side and check out what we have to offer because the lore and stories and things like that it's just so rich. And not every movie's amazing. I know I'll get smacked in the face by hardcore fans that would say you're wrong. Not all of them are fantastic, but there are some stories that are just outstanding. From the Millennium series alone, I highly recommend Godzilla X Mecha Godzilla and Tokyo SOS, just as these, and also like Giant Monsters All Out Attack. Great fucking movies, fantastic fucking films. Even Godzilla 2000, despite its slow pacing, it at least introduces you to new monsters. You get Orga, who's like a UFO, which is basically just a UFO that turns into a giant monster, which is interesting because then when we're watching what is it? What's the film with Jean Jacket? I can't remember its name right now.
Oh,
The
nope.
Nope. Yeah, it's like I see Nope, and I'm like, oh, it's like Orga. It's like the spaceship.
Oh,
It's an action. It's like
interesting.
a monster. It's interesting. Yeah. So I'm like, oh, this is cool. So you still see its influence on all these new things that are happening, stateside, and it's ever present. Godzilla has never gone away. Um, but this is and don't get me wrong, Godzilla, there's been different iterations of him, different designs. People like the Meltdown Godzilla, and that's actually the one where he dies fighting, Destroya. Um, even with Godzilla, 2000 and going far, far back to the beginning. I mean, Godzilla is constantly reinvented. And in this one, this is the first time we get different phases of Godzilla.
Yeah.
And friend of the show, John Bickness sent you a phase list that you just shared with me on screen. Credit
Yeah.
to John Bickness. Thank you very much for that. And it's shed a little bit of light on something that I didn't even know. So these phases in the film and constant mutations in the film is kind of a new thing to the franchise. So you're watching, Godzilla transform on screen, from one silly looking monster to something mildly terrifying to like, what the fuck is this? This is horrible. And it's really cool to see that. And then, kind of like a spoiler, you get to see what it looks like going forward. And
Yeah.
if it's going where it goes, because they have kind of announced a sequel, I really want to see what that looks like on screen, especially considering now, like with the popularity of minus one, you would definitely get more budget thrown into that,
Yeah.
and I think it would come across fucking amazing. It looks intense. And yeah, this. Let's talk about that terrifying form. First of all, I want to ask you, Sean, what was your take on the various forms of how Godzilla looked? Because we get, a derpy looking weird one that kind of washes ashore, like you said, with the big googly eyes, and it looks like, oh, let's, a couple of missiles will take care of that, But I want to hear your interpretations, or no, not your interpretations, but what you thought about the newer phases and things like that go into this Godzilla that we've never seen before. And I know you haven't seen very many of the Godzilla films,
Right.
but this concept is new. So I would like to hear like your thoughts on that.
So that was something I didn't realize wasn't like canon from before. So I'm watching this at first thinking this googly eyed thing is like a weird redesign, and that was going to be with us for the movie. Then it starts to change, and the changes were subtle enough where I was like, I could see it's changing, but I'm not completely understanding that there's like levels here. And then obviously when we get to like Godzilla, what I'll call Godzilla proper, right? It's like, oh, okay, here we go. But I was so because and then like afterwards I kept hearing or like anything I'd read is like the forums and we got so that final image I didn't know what to make of that where it's like the tail but there's like the humanoid forms coming out of it. I'm like, what the fuck? I don't know what that is, right? And so then I'm thinking this is something that has existed and they just didn't get to extrapolate on it. But no, this is something that, like John was telling me earlier, this was these like really ambitious character designs for this movie. And so one of the bitter pains for fans is that they tease what's coming and then we never get it because there was no sequel, right? So that has to be crazy. But I'll throw up the image of the chart and I don't know where he found it, but that's the fifth form. Is this like I don't know if Godzilla itself will turn into this humanoid or if the humanoid comes out of Godzilla or whatever. But then there's two more forms, and one of them is basically just, I guess, Godzilla, but like double the fucking size. Which already, like, how do you even double the size of Godzilla and keep it on the in the atmosphere, right?
Yeah, it's ridiculous how large this thing gets. But so when I first saw that, the tail thing, I was like, well, I wonder if it's just asexual reproduction. Like that's,
Mm-hmm.
it's basically those are going to be its minis. And then
Right.
I'm thinking to myself also, oh shit, if these things all have the capability of turning into what this
Oh,
Shin Godzilla is and spreading out worldwide, like that's a fucking like world killing like disaster that's waiting to happen. But like you said, no sequel. So nobody really knew what was to come next. And yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like, well, okay, what else do we have from Godzilla going forward? Um, we have Earth Godzilla and a handful of like animated movies that dropped on Netflix at some point. So there's three movies on there. Actually, I think one of them was called Singular Point, and there's a few other like animated versions of Godzilla that have shown up until we eventually get the minus one, which has been greenlit for a sequel. I think I read the other day that it started shooting already. I could be
oh
wrong about
wow.
that though. Yeah, if it's true, then great. I can't wait. Um, but this again, that's more of a traditional style Godzilla, and again another reboot to the series, and I don't want to say more of the same, but definitely a retelling
Yeah, yeah,
of what you got in other films. And what I do like about Shin Godzilla is they talk about the origin of the name Gojira, because that's what the locals of Edo Island have named it. So in this world of Shin Godzilla, it is a known creature that has been around, but this is the first time it's ever come ashore. But the legend of it has existed on Odo Island, according to what I read during the film or watching the movie. Anyway, that information is given out.
hmm
But going back to the new redesign and the different phases, it's just interesting to see this really silly looking googly eyed creature, and watching it evolve into this monstrous being. And it looks like it's in pain the whole time. And I talked to you
yeah,
about this earlier. It looks like it's in literal agony as it's coming to shore and as it's standing and trying to get on its hind feet. And by the time it gets to this last form that it's in, you notice that its arms are finally out. Its arms have distended from its body, but usually the hands are down and in kind of like an attack position. And in this one, the hands are up, and it looks like it's like I said, it looks like it's in pain, in agony,
yeah,
as it's moving through the city and doing whatever it is it has to do. Um, I don't know. So I feel like those characteristics are just kind of shocking for a
yeah,
Godzilla feature. You just don't see that. Godzilla's always like, here he comes. Big badass motherfucker is gonna do what he does. He's gonna, destroy everything, et cetera, et cetera. And then he's gonna wear the crown as he walks out from kicking whoever's fucking ass. Like that's just what it is. This one is different. And eventually we get to, its scene where it's gonna discharge its heat ray. And yeah, man, watching that, like, spines glow, et cetera, et
oh,
cetera.
dude,
What happens next is fucking terrifying, and it's literally the equivalent of watching a fucking nuke go off, and
yeah,
which is what would have happened had that reactor in Japan
yeah.
melted down. Like that would have happened. That's something that could easily have happened. And yeah, when it goes down on screen, you get a few more different things. Like you notice that when it's being attacked, it has like a lens that goes over its eye, like a shark.
Yep.
That was really fucking cool. That little addition was rad.
Is that, I wondered if that had something to do with, like, they mentioned at some point that it's got something, I don't remember how exactly they explained it, but something like radar so that it always knows where. So I wondered if that was, like a natural targeting system or something like that. I didn't know if that had something to do with that because I did notice that the effects in this movie are fucking dude, unbelievable. Like it's obviously a lot of CG. It does not look like it to me. I mean, dude, there are scenes where buildings and they don't cheap. Like there's a whole sequence where like near the end before they freeze him, they throw these they run these train bombs into him, and then
Dude,
they basically just topple skyscrapers to knock him down and pin him. And like they don't just show you the wide shot of the skyscraper falling. Like they go inside the fucking skyscraper and show all everything in there sliding towards the exploding glass. And like I was so floored by every fucking effect in this movie. It's among the best effects I've ever seen in anything. Like there's not a moment where I didn't think I was looking at reality.
yeah, the money spent was, you can tell where it went. I was just gonna mention that train bomb sequence. It's so fucking
Oh
cool.
god damn, dude, oh it's just it's unbelievable. And also like that plays into the agony thing where like you know so, dude, when he discharges, like when, so Godzilla's sound, right? His cry or whatever, that's like collective unconscious at this point. If you played that for most people, they'd know what it was without having a visual.
Of course.
And the image of him like blasting with his heat ray or whatever, it was just unbelievable. Both of those things. I felt like were this was the pinnacle. And I'm saying, so fuck me because I've not seen anything but this and minus one. But like, I don't know how anything could top the way this movie used both that visual of his heat ray and that sound. Like, it was just unbelievable. But it plays into the agony. And I just got to wonder, like, I would love to know where this is going. So
Yeah.
I really hope that sequel happens because this doesn't seem like the Godzilla that in my understanding of the original is like it's a monster movie, but then eventually, as they're making sequels, he becomes the good guy that's actually humanity's
Yeah, he's
protector.
no longer big dumb animal. Yeah, he actually has
Right.
character and he's the defender of Earth, etc. like
Yeah,
that.
exactly. And
Exactly.
this
I know what
doesn't
you're saying.
feel like that.
No,
This feels like this is an extinction level event for humanity.
yeah, exactly. And mixed with big dumb animal, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah.
You know, it's wild to see that. Yeah, because again, back to to it being in agony. This thing where it's obviously it's defending itself, and it has to defend against bomb attacks, bombardments from planes and things like that. And it seems like it over radiates itself to the point where now I have to expel. And when it leans down and starts like puking fire, purple
Yeah.
fire. It looks like it's unaware of what it's doing. Because
Yeah.
again, I think big dumb animal. I don't think it understands that. Oh, this is how I eradicate a city. You know what I mean? It's
No,
not
right,
thinking
right.
that.
So we're talking about this thing, defending itself, and you know, there's the political allegory, but also I think Godzilla in general is an allegory about the planet, right, or the non-human aspect of the planet rebelling against the human aspect. And I think there's definitely something to be said. You mentioned like he's not Earth's protector, and obviously there's a whole strain of Godzilla fiction movies and whatnot that made him Earth's protector, and what that really means is humanity's protector, right? But I don't get the sense that that is this, and I think maybe this is closer to the original incarnation, which I feel like is more like fuck humanity, right? Like the
Yeah,
planet's gonna kick back.
agreed. Until it ultimately takes over the planet, like in some of those anime films, where the Godzilla is literally named Earth Godzilla, and it has laid dormant for thousands of years. Everything on Earth has gone through an evolutionary change and adapted to Godzilla. So all of Earth's environments are now horrible terrain because it's, uh, kind of mimicking Godzilla's spines, things like that.
So all of the fast food places would have Godzilla centric like promotions, right? Like
Which
Godzilla sized burgers or meals.
exactly,
Okay.
exactly. Think Brontosaurus burgers, but bigger. Um, it's just again, and forgive me for going off on that tangent, but yeah,
No,
Godzilla
please.
lore and stuff like that. It just I could go on forever. Diehard fans could go on forever, and they love talking about this stuff. And it's cool how just one always leads to another and bleeds into another and bleeds into another, and that's why we have 30 plus films. Kind of to wrap it all up, this movie was brought back into theaters. This is a new 4K scan of it. It wasn't available in a 4K scan before. I have a 2K Blu-ray, which is great. I'm happy that I've had it because that went to like ridiculous prices on eBay for a long period of time. Again, it was really recently remastered in 4K. The 4K special edition is now up on Godzilla.com, and
Ooh,
it's a 4 disc set. But if you don't want to buy that from the Godzilla website, Scream Factory is going to be releasing the Shin Godzilla solo standalone 4K disc. So Scream Factory is now involved in this as well. So it's kind of interesting to see that this is going to get some more accessibility, and I'm happy for it because this is another one of those weird ones where a lot of people, it came and went overnight, and if you missed it, you missed it, and then unfortunately, by the time you figured out it was a thing, it was out of print.
right.
So, and to my knowledge, it was one of those films where even like Fandango didn't have digital copies you could buy or rent,
Wow.
and it was a bizarre like rights issue thing, and now I guess all that stuff's been settled. So it's going to be released again on home video, and I'll probably double dip because I'm an idiot and get the Scream Factory edition. I don't think I need a four disc super duper special edition. I don't think that's necessary. But I will be getting the single 4K disc from Scream Factory when it's released. Um, this is a limited release in theaters. I don't know if it's going to be here this coming week. It might be out this week. I don't even know
It,
if there's
it
any more screenings today.
it looks like for me, it's still in my theater, like as of Thursday, which shocked the fuck out of me. So I don't know if it's there for the weekend, but like it's been there for a while, so
Yeah.
it's quite a run.
Yeah, because we went on Saturday and it was great. It was cool to be able to sit down in the theater and watch another Godzilla film. It's been some time. Well, since minus one anyway.
Right.
But yeah, so it's back on the market. People can check it out. I do encourage people going to watch it in theaters. However, if you've already seen minus one and you haven't seen this, you're gonna get a different kind of movie.
Totally
And
different kind of movie.
totally different kind of movie, and this has kind of been a complaint for a lot of fans over the years that there's too much human interaction and not enough. This, however, does have purpose and message behind it. um but again, it's a bit of a hard watch, but I mean, when it gets where it's going, it's really fucking rewarding. Great Godzilla movie, and I'm glad that I had the chance to see it in theaters. And I implore those out there that still have it playing locally, by the time you get a chance to hear this, if it still is up, go watch it on the big screen because you probably might not get a chance to see this again like this.
Yeah.
Especially stateside. You know what I mean? So
And it's
yeah,
worth seeing on a big screen. And honestly, like there is a lot of human stuff, but my big complaint with that legend, I think that legendary one I tried to watch was like King of Monsters or something. I think it was the second one. And I just remember watching it and like I'm like, for a movie called King of Monsters, there's no fucking monsters. Like I just felt like it was all humans and it bugged the fuck out of me. But this didn't feel like that, even though it is exactly that. You could levy the same complaint. This felt more like Romero and Zombies, where it's like the monster is the catalyst for this, kind of dissertation on our own society. And I don't know, it just worked for me, and it was work. I'll put links in the show notes for this collector's edition. Also, I'm curious. You mentioned the cartoon where like Earth had evolved for Godzilla. Is that the Netflix cartoons?
that's the Netflix ones. Yeah,
Okay, I'm just curious. I might check something like that out.
the
Because
design is really cool. It's just Godzilla now at this point is ancient. He doesn't move very quickly anymore. If he has a threat, it's instantly open mouth, nuclear
wow,
explosion. Like, it's just this thing that's beyond time now. It's crazy looking.
wow, that man, that's I some of the most haunting imagery in this is the where it like I don't know if it goes to sleep or whatever, but like it discharges, this huge payload, and then it basically they have I forget how many days they figure out, and it's just standing there, right?
Yeah.
Such a fucking crazy image. And I also wanted to bring up I've never read this. I've flirted with buying this for quite some time. Um, James, I don't know how to say his name. I think it's Stoko. He's a comic book writer and artist. His art is absolutely fucking amazing, and he has a Godzilla graphic novel that was originally put out. I think it's IDW. But I mean, it looks fucking amazing, and again, with his art is just unbelievable, and it's something like he recently did Orphan and the Five Beasts. He did Grunt. He did
I think he did Alien Dead Space too for Dark Horse.
Dead Orbit.
Dead Orbit, I'm sorry, Dead Orbit. Yeah.
And he's one of these guys where every fucking panel is so detailed. It's like I'm looking at this going, I can't even fucking believe what I'm looking at. So I want to check that out as well. I feel like oh man, this was bound to happen eventually. Me becoming like a Godzilla fan, but
Man,
I
welcome.
was really impressed with this. Like this really between this and minus one, I'm just blown away.
Yeah, there's a ton of other flicks just from the past that I could recommend that are equally as, entertaining and character rich, and, on-screen monster fights are fucking incredible. Like there's a ton of them from, again, past 30 plus films. So, I mean, yeah, it's a great fandom to become a part of. I hate to use the word fandom, but
Eh,
yeah, it's just one I've been a part of for majority of my life, and it's something that I still can't wait to see when there's a new one. Much like every time there's a new Castlevania game, like it's just something that's ingrained in me that I have to be a part of and have to take part in. And yeah, I can't wait for more Godzilla. And again, for folks that still might have this in theaters, jump, go, run, watch. It's gonna be great. You're gonna have a
yeah,
blast.
I agree. I agree. I think that's awesome. I love the fact that like this has followed you and that you're a diehard fan. Because I have this stuff that I'm diehard of, so I dip my toe in other stuff. Because if my friends like something, I'm like, what have I missed?
Mm.
And this was definitely minus one, and this were definitely the way in for me. I got to figure out this one that I saw like a little bit of when I was a kid because I don't know it freaked me out. It was like different. I think it was from the 80s, and it was like I remember it started with like a boat with these like weird cocoon things on it. I don't know. It
Yeah,
just
it's Godzilla 85, I think. Yeah, so that was the start of that whole era, that I think ended with Destroya, with Godzilla versus Destroya, where he was, ultimately killed. Um,
okay.
yeah, so that was it. And those flicks from the 80s were great too, because that, like, versus Ghidorah and versus Mecha King Ghidorah and all that stuff. Those movies are fantastic as well. Godzilla versus Biollante, it's another one that just everybody loves from that era. Godzilla versus Space Godzilla, dude, that whole era is fucking incredible, dude. Like, just practical effects are insane in those movies, but maybe not in Destroya so much, just because they started to implement like the beginnings of CGI and it doesn't look good
Yeah, I
sometimes.
mean, there's not much stuff in
Yeah,
the beginning of CGI that looks good,
yeah,
but
but Yeah, but overall, like, yeah. So the one you're talking about is, yeah, Godzilla. I think it's 85, if I'm not
I'll have
mistaken.
to check that out.
Yeah.
It left a weird impression on me. I don't even remember seeing the actual Godzilla monster in it. I
Oh.
don't know.
And it's interesting because it's always been a thing with Godzilla where there's like parasites or some kind of deep sea thing, and that comes out in, minus one, where there's, the those weird deep sea fish coming up when he's around.
Yeah,
And then again, like, in the one that you're talking about, there's these like almost like sea lice parasites are on Godzilla that attach themselves to like the boatmen and all that stuff.
yeah,
And
well,
it's
dude, which is totally Cloverfield. Like
so
Cloverfield
when
totally used that.
exactly so when you see that in Cloverfield, you see that direct pull from it. So it's like it's really fucking cool how that little character trait from Godzilla got pulled into, the new millennium of films, and it's just
Oh,
fucking rad to see that.
that that's so cool, and I do think that there's something to be said for J.J. Abrams doing Cloverfield and bringing in a roundabout way Godzilla back around. Like, not, you're right, they were always there, but I feel like it brings legendary, which then brings interest. That brings minus one, which now brings interest back to Shin Godzilla. So man, I don't know. It's good stuff, and I agree 100% with Anthony. If you can hear this and it's still playing, go see it. It's gonna be work, and I'll just tell you right now, there's gonna be a lot of subtitles on screen. It took me a while to figure it out. Only pay attention to the subtitles that are dialogue because there's a lot of it's like dialogue and then where they are and who's there, former prime minister aide, blah blah blah. After the You just have to filter it because there's so much shit on screen, and it's fast. Like if you have trouble with subtitles, you might have trouble with the movie. I don't want to scare anybody off because I think everybody should see it if they're interested, but I have no problem with subtitles ever. And I was, it was like running a fast mile. I was breathing heavy.
Yeah,
So
man. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad you had a good time with it, man.
really
For your
did.
yeah, for your second Godzilla film theatrically, like, yeah, I applaud you for really hanging in there on this one because it's rough. It's rough for
Yeah, but
sure.
it's worth it. It's so
Yeah.
rewarding. It's so fucking rewarding. So
Because I had just watched my Blu-ray a couple of weeks ago, and I'm like, man, I don't know if I can push through this through in the theater, but I wanted to experience. I wanted to have that theatrical experience with the film. Plus, it was going to be the first time that I took my son to go see a Godzilla film theatrically. Um, he doesn't know Japanese, so it made it a little difficult for his viewing. But
right,
I think he, had a great time every time, the monster was on screen. Hey, there's Godzilla. What is that? Why does he look like that?
right.
So it was cool to introduce that to him, and I'm happy that he had a good time with it. And we have future Godzilla movies to look forward to, and yeah, I think it's awesome that the next generation is being brought into the fold, and my son loves it. So it's just something that I'm going to continue to love for the rest of my life, and hopefully he will as well.
I mean, that's so awesome. Oh man, that's just, it makes me very happy. So that's Shin Godzilla in the context of the Godzilla franchise, and this is the Horror Vision, and I'm Sean.
And I'm that weird thing growing on the back of Godzilla's tail.
Hapless teenagers beset by demons in the woods. A strange new drug that turns art into murder. A can't beat a deal on a new house with a horrifying past. A video game that might usher in the apocalypse. From the demented mind of Sean C. Baker, author of A Collection of Desires, Shadow Play, and Murder Virus, comes Volume 4, collecting Baker's no sleep work along with several never-before published short stories. This 99-cent volume also includes the opening chapter of the author's forthcoming teenage giallo novel, Black Gloves and Broken Hearts.